Welcome to Epic FM, the UK's #1 Warcaster Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 3.5, Mark 4 podcast. I'm Paul North. I'm the UK's best Warmachine Mark III player, and today I'm joined by Brett Wilkie, the UK's #1 Warcaster player. I'm also joined by Gavin Beckett, the UK's #2 Warcaster player, and we're exceptionally lucky to be joined by the worst Warcaster player in the country, ranked at #3, Barry. Welcome to the cast, Barry. Cheers for coming on.
Oh, there's no worries.
You're not blessing us with your face, but that's okay. That's absolutely fine. You're still here. You're with us. You're keen. So thanks for joining the show, mate.
I think he's got to keep a degree of sort of professional etiquette, hasn't he? As head UK judge, he can't be seen to just be cavorting with us idiots.
True. Yeah, I've got to be careful when Gav's around. I've heard he's not very reputable.
Gav is one of the
this
worst
reputation I'm getting is shocking.
Do you want to explain your absence, Gav? Because I was telling people quite a bit about the sort of incarceration,
involvement. It's pretty straightforward. I went on holiday in a caravan.
Oh, was that it?
That was pretty much it. Yeah.
When you said I'd disappeared because of the kids, I thought it was the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
Wow.
Did you have a nice time?
I had a lovely time, thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, it's actually down the neck of the woods you're moving to. So yeah, it's good.
Don't be giving my location away to people on the internet. I've got enough weirdos. On a serious note, Barry, you're not a Warcaster player, are you? You're a very professional, knowledgeable judge in the world of Warmachine.
Yes, I do own the starter box for Warcaster, actually.
Why?
Which I picked up. I picked up recently as a prize in a raffle.
Oh, okay, nice.
Oh, well done,
It picked it up to get a head start on Mark IV.
Oh,
Exactly.
inside knowledge.
He knew all along.
Yeah.
Gav, we do need to address something straight off the bat in the cast, because you're obviously an avid podcaster. You listen to all the podcasts out there. You're on the field, seeing what people are saying, reporting back. And there's been quite a new US podcast that mentioned.
Yeah, I can't remember the names. The name escapes me. I think I have to have a look it up. Honestly, I've never heard of...
I think it's Muse on Timmy's.
Is it Muse on Muse on Timmy's? No, it's Minis. Muse on Minis. It's some 2-bit outfit that.
Till and load.
Oh, I stumbled across them on the internet.
What were they claiming, Gav?
Well, apparently they would think that they're the first Mark IV podcast. Apparently, I mean, maybe it's some sort of US time thing. They got it mixed up.
Well, they do. They struggle with time zones. I guess just to put a line in the sand. I live in Greenwich, which is where the entire world's time zone is based. It's literally, I can see it out my window. Greenwich Mean Time literally runs past my house, so I can confirm that we were the first Mark IV podcast on the planet.
Yeah. Well done.
So I think it's important to set those things straight, because there's a lot of people out there that say a lot of things out there. We know that.
Yeah.
I mean, we claim to be the #1 podcast of one description or another every week.
Yeah, it does change.
I'm not sure how true that is.
It does change. It does change. But I think last week we genuinely were the #1 Warcaster podcast in the planet.
There's only one way to resolve this, Judge.
Warcaster. Yeah, judge.
Make a judge call, Barry.
Just need a ruling, Barry, on who was the first Mark IV podcast, please.
Barry,
given that I'm on it, it's this one, right?
Yeah. Us or us.
There we go. It's official.
So we're gonna today. We tried to do the cast on this the other day. Me, Brett, and Jamie Cook-Rogers. We tried to do a cast and look at the rules and kind of digest it, but the timings were off and they were released just as we knew would happen. 10-15 minutes after we finished the cast, they released the rules. If anyone wants to go back and watch that episode, it's on Twitch. We're not putting it on YouTube because it's way too trolley. It was quite intense, so it's staying in the realm of Twitch. It's not good. Andy says, I support caravan strikes.
He means us on strike in a caravan.
Strike.
Yeah.
Good, Andy. Yeah. I like it. I like it. Yeah, so we're going to do a proper job at this time because we've got all the rules up. But before I get into that, if you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It helps us loads. And feel free to go back and watch the episodes we've done so far. There's weekly content that we're putting out on Warmachine Mark III and Mark IV in the form of YouTube shorts, YouTube videos, Twitch, and Spotify, all the ways you can digest your podcasts and our ramblings. So do check it out. Please like and subscribe. Thanks to people that are joining us in the chat live on Twitch. We'll be doing it every week. Keep an eye on our Twitter channel as to when we're casting. But should we get straight into it and start breaking down the changes from Mark III to Mark IV? Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Let's do it.
Seems we missed out on it by about 20 minutes last time.
We literally missed out on it by 20 minutes. Just as I got into bed, I was like, "Oh, here come the rules." And then all the groups just went. Everybody's group just went really frantic, didn't it?
Yeah.
It was like, oh, and then the internet started just losing its shit. Bless it.
Our Seminole Warcaster podcast was pretty accurate on a lot of our rule speculation, though.
Our Seminole Warcaster podcast, #1 Warcaster podcast in the world, actually smashed it in terms of what we predicted. It was wild. We did absolutely great. I was super
But
pleased.
did you literally predict everything and therefore caught some things? Right.
Yeah, no, there was some fairly wide-reaching predictions. But mainly it was around the Warcaster movement and spell racks.
Okay. Yeah.
I think spell racks had already been kind of spoiled, but yeah, we did pretty good. All right, let's look at these first things and these first changes and then get your opinion, the three of you, as to what you think. So first one, it's quite a big one. Removal of facing. One of the biggest changes in Mark IV is removal of facing and all the fiddly modelling position that goes with it. The removal of facing has greatly reduced the cognitive load requirement for careful placement of models. Models now seeing 360 degrees. It also eases the ability to achieve proper placement and base contact with even the most dynamic of sculpts. So removal of facing.
It's like the chuckle there, Barry. That's nice.
I as you as a Scorn player will understand that placing the mammoth anywhere is a problem.
That's why mine's on a giant rock.
Yeah, I'm convinced it's the reason they gave it 3-inch reach.
It is. 100% is, yeah.
Yeah, from a judge perspective, this is so easy. Like, I don't have to go, like, can this model see this model? Or does this model take a free strike if it goes through here? Like, all the just arc markings in general, it just makes it a lot easier.
No, I agree. The whole TO perspective of it is so much easier. You know, you're not going to get any of those judgment calls where, you know, can he see him? Can he move through here? Has he marked his arcs on exactly 90 degrees to each other?
Yeah,
180. Sorry.
If anyone can say that they've marked their arcs exactly 180 degrees, they're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. So
yeah,
it was a little bit subjective, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do we lose anything with this, Brett? What are your thoughts on the removal of arcs? Because you're a player that for many, many years has really enjoyed precision placement, and I imagine that involves the correct placement of arcs. What are your kind of thoughts on the loss of that?
I'm also a Legion player, though, so most of my first turns involve deploying with most of my models facing backwards. Just so that all the wings and everything.
All the wings. Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's definitely one of the things that is clarified most in the game is just, you know, my model's here, but it's facing that way.
Yeah. Literally every game as a Scorn player.
Yeah.
Or as you say,
Titans. It's facing exactly the opposite of the way it's actually facing. You know, you just.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that comes up on a fairly regular basis. I'm not sure that it speeds up the game, which was one of the things that they inferred, wasn't it? It speeds it up if you're being ultra precise with everything. But I think if you're moving models and you face them as you place them, don't you?
Yeah. But how long have you been playing the game for? So to you, it's second nature, isn't it? But for these newer players that are trying to attract as well, the whole facing thing might be a little bit unusual. Probably one of the latter things that you learn is trying to plan your facings for the next turn, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
What about the second part? Sorry, I am listening, paying attention.
I'm just posting.
I'm
free
just
strikes, right?
Yeah, free strikes feels like a big thing.
And then I'll just so I've noted this since I've been playing and the rules released. How often? Certainly, I use the +2 bonus for a rear strike. Just moving a model into the back art to get that +2 on a range attack or a spray melee type attack is quite significant. So certainly since I've been paying attention post sort of rules release. That's something I think maybe is a detraction from the game in terms of orientating your models and playing to get those little extra inherent buffs.
Yeah.
Glitchy Bit says in the chat it speeds up in that you don't have to put down a proxy base just to fit a scorned Titan.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Andy also said it reminds me of that film with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, Removal of Facing.
Nice. It's a good film. It's actually one of
That is a good film.
Nicolas Cage's best.
And
Definitely.
Glitchy Bit says Removal of Facing also gives TK the nerf it needed.
That's fair. Because it doesn't
by
get you a
that
back
you
arc
mean
bonus anymore.
spinning people around the TK move placement spin for the +2.
Well, then obviously you can't charge, but you can't see as well. It's all that sort of stuff, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
So it's a clear simplification, isn't it? As the removal of facing, removal of free strikes. You can see how that quickly speeds up the game. But there is with the removal of free strikes, there is, I guess, an important interaction there that has gone, which is that risk management of, do I just launch this beast or this jack or whatever, or this model flying out of combat into something else? I mean, there's so many times where I've done that. You think, sod it, fine, I'll take the free strike and go for something else. But obviously that now, you don't have that dilemma. Although leaving, there is still a penalty, isn't there, from leaving a model whilst you're in melee? It's not.
Yeah. So you forfeit your combat action, don't you? But there are models that have got is it unstoppable?
If you have the unstoppable,
yeah. So they don't forfeit their combat action.
What we've seen that's got that rule so far?
One of the Orgoth models, right?
Yeah, and all cavalry so far.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
So both the Bane Cav and the Exemplar Avengers both have unstoppable, which I think makes the Cav, which we'll come to later, they're gonna have a really, really niche little role in the game. And also, if you look at Bane Cav, the ghostly wording's changed, I think, on that as well. You can now move through models as well.
Oh.
Zoran says in the chat, shields are now stronger, which is true, isn't it? With the changing of those.
Yeah,
it is
just a flat +2 armor.
Yeah.
And you can give it to a model via a command card, so you can give unstoppable out via a command card.
Nice.
Is the Ogroth model that's got it, Barry, is it the 80mm model, or is it just a regular model?
Oh, you've asked me a question I don't know off the top of my head.
Right, that's it. Barry's off the cast.
I'm out. Bye.
Right, that's it. How do I kick him
So I
off
think
soon?
it's a heavy jack. I think it's a heavy jack.
Oh, okay.
I can check. I think it's one of the heavy jack Cortex options or head options. I think.
So
I'm like Paul. I think there's numerous times where I've just been willing to take the free strike that's coming my way to just get the model where I want it to be. Certainly, if you're running sort of more battle group heavy, it's a bit riskier, isn't it, on just infantry, single wound type stuff.
Yeah. Right, let's keep going through these because there's a lot. Let's keep the energy up. Simplification of unit rules. This is I've said let's keep the energy up, and then we've hit this. This is the one that I've seen more chat about online. Is it the same for you guys?
I've seen they had loads of chat on this, and so many different opinions, like positive and negative. So I'll be interested to hear what you guys think.
I'm going to agree with what you guys think, okay? Because I don't know.
Go on, Paul. Paul, you go first this time. You go first.
Well, let me read. Okay, well, I'll give it a go. Obviously, one of our goals with Mark IV was to speed up the overall play of the game. As Mark IV experts and the first podcast in the world to look at Mark IV, we all know that. We've long seen unit activations with their independently measured movement and blah, 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 blah. So the point is they're trying to simplify and speed up movement. We talked about it loads on what we're now calling the missing tapes, the podcast which is only available on Twitch due to the amount of trolling that took place. We talked about this basically like Warcaster movement coming over into Warmachine. So you move a model, you move one model of the unit, and then all other models can be placed within 2 inches of that model, which has come straight out of Warcaster. Again, as we know, as UK's strongest Warcaster team in the world. But this is really stressing people out. The bit that stresses me out about it, and I do need to play it, so I'm taking it with a big pinch of salt, and I will reserve judgment till I see it on the table, is the thing I liked about Warmachine was the ability to predict and plan what my opponent was doing, and then create a strategy and model placements which either protected me or pushed a certain element of the board, right? Like I enjoy the precision and the tactics of setting models up. Oh, and Warcaster stole it from Star Wars Legion. Yeah, that's true. Glitch a bit. And the bit that stresses me out a little bit about this is it's that lack of because there are multiple models which you could initially move and then launch everything within 2 of. I'm not sure how you build a strategy which can prevent model placement everywhere. And the fact that PP in their initial description of how units now operate is like Quicksilver suggests that you can't really plan and block out units. That might be fine. That might be quite a cool element of the game. That might just be why you put units in a list. That might be, units have become easy to remove. So I do understand that. But the bit that worries me is the reduction in the strategic play. In if units can just go everywhere, it doesn't really matter so much where I'm placing this model or that model or the other. And the concept of a screening unit looks like it could be negated quite significantly. Like, you can't really, if your models go anywhere, you can't really screen. So that's my concern. But I will give it a try before before making a final decision on it. I don't know what you guys think. If you have a similar,
no, I think that's a really good summary.
Are you happy with that, Gav? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a really good summary. I think it's great.
Thank you, sir.
What's your take on it, Barry, as the judge? I'm sure you've digested this in detail.
I'm so in 2 minds on it, on whether it's going to be actually. It's so different that I can't visualize it without actually sitting and playing it on a table.
Yeah.
Like it's a non-answer, but it's so difficult to imagine how it works, and you've got to basically relearn how to, like Paul was saying, relearn how to screen things.
Yep.
You've just got to relearn how to use infantry, and its role may have functionally changed from what it was in Mark III. So it's so difficult to. I can't understand without playing it several times how it's supposed to work and what it's supposed to whether their job is different now.
Yeah. I think it's probably a reimagining of what we mean by screening.
Yep.
I think our Mark II and Mark III interpretation of screening is by putting these infantry models here, you won't get any attacks onto my valuable piece that's behind that. Now, that you can still do that with this type of screen, can't you? It's just that you won't stop models getting to your valuable piece. But if they've had to take the pseudo free strike, not a free strike, if they've had to go through the melee range of something else, then they're not going to damage or attack your piece that you're protecting, but they will still get there. So it changes how we have to, I think, imagine screening. It still stops you losing your valuable piece. It just means you've then got to declutter in and around the valuable piece.
Yeah.
The other observation I'll make is, and I'm guilty of this, lining models up on the edge of a zone to stop someone getting into a zone.
Yeah.
Yes.
From a scenario perspective. And so I can see that it'll perhaps assist with keeping the scenario game live in terms of contesting compared to the current edition. And I guess in itself that makes it more dynamic, doesn't it? If the game is going longer because it becomes easier to contest, you can't just block out a zone by putting models on the edge of a zone, because they'll run someone near it and then they'll bounce someone over the back of it, won't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously infantry are slower now with the changes to running. So your infantry isn't going to get quite as far as it was previously. But like I say, it's going to be more unpredictable. But is it really? So the infantry models have to be within 2 inches of each other. The units themselves are smaller. So you can sort of identify the lead models in that unit that potentially your opponent's going to use. So you can use your predictions from that pool. It just means that you, instead of sort of judging where the whole unit's going to end up, you need to judge where the whole cloud is going to end up, probably, I think. Like you said, when you
chain them, Gav, you can't you? So I run this model here, then my next model places 2 inches in front, next one 2 inches in front, 2 inches in front.
Potentially, yes, I think so.
No, they've all got to be within 2 inches of that first
of the model.
Yeah, you move
charge,
one
yeah.
model, everything else has to be placed within 2 inches of that model. That
model,
moved.
yeah.
One model.
Yeah,
The one that you move.
That is just like a little bubble, isn't it?
it is. Yeah,
moving
Yeah.
around.
well,
they're
of
little
5 or
dots.
6 models maybe. But then they just die really easily with the new changes to AOE specifically. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, so
So they run around in basically
they run around in an AOE
formation.
shape. Yeah. So, but also they don't particularly kill each other either. So infantry against infantry is really odd now. So I'd be interested to see, the infantry that designed to kill other infantry, how much play that sees from now on. Because you've got the model that charges, and then everybody else then has to place within 2 inches of that model, and then engages the model that model engaged. You're going to see possibly infantry not dealing with infantry anymore.
The rule that to me just looks stupid, Papa Cardan has just said it, is reposition. I think that's something they need to edit, is because Chris Murdoch, Outpost Murdoch, put something in Facebook being like, can we actually do this? And it was just this like ridiculous move of like basically finishing a run with a repo and them all going away from each other.
Yeah, because that 2 inches
ridiculous.
isn't a coherency. You just have that's your initial placement. After that, you can be your reposition away from that. So you could have 3 models that are model 5 inches, model 5 inches, model.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now that cloud is really big now.
Yeah. That seems silly.
Yeah.
That seems something they could quite easily fix by just saying at the end of reposition you need to be in 2 inches of model
definitely
inside the reposition.
Yeah.
Just something like that, because that doesn't feel like an as intended thing.
It is a beta thing, isn't it? It's a beta rules. So stuff that can be ironed out.
And I imagine if people play it and they're like, that is ridiculous.
So infantry with AoEs, I'm going to predict pretty good. Infantry with AoEs.
Infantry with AoEs.
With AoEs, yeah.
That fucking list you played against me, Barry. Jesus.
Oh yeah, that whole Goal 2 list.
It's ready, isn't it? They're all three-man teams of Barrage boys anyway.
Barry Bazooka, that's all you had to offer me.
So is infantry going to be less screening now and more jamming? This is what I was thinking. It's more of a jam, isn't it?
Yeah, the bit that I was like, oh, that's going to be really annoying, is towards the back end of a game when you've just got like a few really key high value models around, and then you just have like crappy units just walking into them and stood there and being like, you're gonna have to forfeit your combat action if you walk away from me. And then you really needing to just go over and like basically if someone's got like 2 jacks or 2 beasts and you've got a beast and a jack plus a unit, that one unit is just going to be so annoying to those 2 jacks.
Unless it just dies on turn 3, the whole unit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like late game infantry, just tying up high value models.
Yeah,
it seems to be.
It also, I think, does it incentivize the use of the more multi-wound infantry stuff that's got a bit more presence, that doesn't just die to an AoE. They're super jammy then, aren't they? So you run those.
It just incentivizes taking more battle group.
Yes.
Yeah.
But with maybe the pieces that can sort of hang back to just clear off all that chaff that jams you. Yeah.
Glitchy Bitch said, oh, go on, Brett. I'll say this after.
Well, I'm just thinking about the lists I currently play, and Swamp Gobber Bellows crew aside. and then Shifting Stones. I've not been playing any units at all, and that's in the current edition of the game.
Yeah.
And so there's certainly some factions at the moment that have just gradually migrated away from taking units or including them in the lists. For preference of just battle groups and then utility solos or melee type solos, as opposed to going with an actual block of dudes to run up the board.
But would that change now, do you think, if you could use that unit to tie up the activations of 3 heavies?
He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it.
Maybe.
Well, I'm thinking just for dramatic effect because my answer's already no.
Yeah.
You're so Shakespearean.
No, it's all about drama.
The glitchy bit says units get absolutely mulched by shooting now, from what I've heard from playtesters. Only having 3 to 5 models in a unit makes them die from gunfire very quickly. Yeah, that's a fair observation.
It does seem like that, yeah.
So this is where, we won't spend ages on it because there's loads of chat online, but I guess we're all coming from a fairly balanced position of it's probably one of those things that wants playing, but I would also be cautious around people playing one game and then being absolutely convinced. I'm generally worried about anyone who's convinced of anything. Anyone has really strong opinions, I'm naturally suspicious of, just in life, just in everything I do. But I think that it's probably one of them where you need to play a few games, a few different lists, and really think about
Well, it's a whole new game, isn't it? It's all of it's going to take loads of learning, but this specifically, I think, is going to.
Well, some bits don't feel that new. There's some bits like this that are like that is definitely.
Yeah. Well, you have to relearn how to use infantry. That's pretty big, isn't it?
Well, not us as established Warcaster players, obviously. It's going to come.
Yeah, of course.
It's going to come naturally and very quickly.
Do you think there's anything in that decision that's a consequence of sort of a poor game experience just from playing against infantry hordes?
Yeah, that game I had against Barry, terrible.
I'm just thinking, we see it with Madrak at the moment, don't we? Where there's just, there's a million guys on the board. They just run across the board. They pass some tough checks, and they just jam you out of zones or just jam you up, win on scenario. But that's not a new list design, is it? There's been things like Miserable Meat Mountains or the Banes and Ghost Fleet and all those things that have been around for a while. But do you think that's a negative play experience generally? And so they've had some of that impact, their decision making to move towards these smaller units? Because they've put FA allowances on the units as well now, haven't they? Much more overtly.
Yeah, FA's always been there, but I don't know. I think the FA is more noticeable now that the units are smaller.
Yeah,
I know that sounds odd, but yeah, I think that's
it's much more noticeable now. You've got 3 dudes or 5 dudes in a unit rather than anywhere between 3 and 10. It's going to be much more noticeable. I do think it does a little boost to, like, the unique selling point of Warmachine is the big smashy robots.
Yeah.
You want your big steampunk robots smashing other big steampunk robots.
Yeah.
And if you push infantry to a less prominent position, then you just naturally push the selling point, in my opinion, of Warmachine.
Definitely. You speed the game up as well.
Matt just said nothing miserable about a meat mountain. Not for you, mate, when you're playing it for ages. Maybe for the opponent. I think that's a general theme, isn't it, of the changes? They're kind of there's been thinking about those comments that come out in that initial article that was like, we need to make the game more accessible. We have issues with supply, so maybe there's an element of that. And just we'll come on to like customizable warjacks, but if people are rocking lists that have loads of infantry, from looking at the way by which you can customize Jack's weapons, and some of those weapons are clearly anti-infantry guns out there. I was looking.
They are, but you can't customize them before the game. Obviously, you lock them in.
You can if your opponent doesn't notice. There's always
brilliant.
Ariel just been noting that down in his note.
Yeah,
things to watch out for.
Oh yeah,
you got Barry on. Well done.
I've got Barry's on. Yeah, tournaments. Barry's going to be like taking pictures of me models before and after.
Make sure you identify what he's playing before you do anything else.
Yeah. No, don't do that. Okay, so I think I'll keep moving through this because there's a bunch of stuff to go through. Unless anyone's got any other closing comments on the simplification of rules.
Initially, I like it, but I've not played it. Anything that makes my turns go quicker, I'm all for.
Yeah. I've been playing that Madrak 3 list with double fen blades, and if that's quicker, I'll take that.
Well, it's quicker because you're gonna have 20 less fen blades to move.
A fair point.
Pitchy Bit says the new movement rules also make 3D and elevated terrain easier to navigate. That is true.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that's another thing that they've mentioned, especially with hills coming back. Next one then, on a similar vein, talking about units, is AoEs and spray attacks have been simplified. Quite significantly simplified, haven't they? No more templates, no more sprays. That is just, as a thing, completely gone. What are people's thoughts and reactions to that? Because again, that's formed like I think back to Mark, when I was playing Mark II. It's always been a huge part, working out AoE deviation distances. Barry, that game that you luckily beat me.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I'm joking. No, it was a really close game. But there was a lot of, how many times were we using the template in that game? Both of us.
3 times a turn? Yeah.
It was absolutely wild. It wasn't lucky. It was a great game. I was being a dick there. But it was a great game. But yeah, we're using those templates constantly. So what do you guys think about that just going?
I think it's great. So I really, really like it. So when you played that game, stumbling over templates, leaning over the top, you can't quite see your opponent's side of the board, and they're trying to hold it for you, move it around. It's. I mean, it served its purpose, didn't it, through the last few editions? But I really like this change. It's really simple, really straightforward, easy to resolve. Sprays. I don't know if sprays were that bad before, not as bad as AoEs, but
sprays were alright. I thought
they were alright. But the sprays are too powerful, so they've made sprays definitely less powerful than they were. Although I've noticed that some of the spray ranges seem to have gone up.
Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, I believe you can. From what I've read, I think you can put snipe on sprays now. I'll check that. I will check
warming that blood up.
I didn't check the wording on snipe. Might want to do that. Are you doing that, Barry?
I need to check which rulebook it's in, whether it's in the rulebook or on the cards.
It's on the cards.
It's on the cards.
The AoE change is really nice, isn't it? I think about things like the Menoth Colossal with its secondary deviation of its missiles and things. I mean, they were just a nightmare to try and do those.
Absolutely.
And we've all got them weird little widgets, haven't we? That have got just a nominal distance that's got small, medium, and large for a 3, 4, and a 5. To widget and place your models and things. So I think that's a really nice change. Like you, Gav, I'm not sure the spray template was actually that difficult to administer.
No.
And the fact that it was the cone shape was thematic and impactful in terms of being able to hit multiple models and a little bit of selection over what am I targeting to maximize the number of models that I get under my cone shaped. But yeah, it was AoEs all for sprays. I don't think they were disastrous originally, but the change seemed simple enough.
Yeah.
So
snipe.
Sorry.
Snipe is just target friendly factions, models / units, ranged weapons, gain +3 range.
It used to be non-spray, didn't it?
I believe so.
Oh, wait a second. Let me just double check sprays. I'm in the rules now. You guys carry on. I'll see if sprays said that it can't be changed.
You love Judge Chat, you two, don't you? This is.
Oh yeah, we'll be on all night.
Now as well. Let me check this out. Let me go look at this. I haven't seen anybody really moaning about the AoE and spray attacks being simplified generally.
So the only question I've got about sprays is, you draw a line from one base to the center of another base. How thick is that line?
I was just about to say that because
yeah. So is my line thicker than your line, Paul? I don't know.
Here we go.
I mean, that's what you always tell us.
But mine is like laser thin. That is.
No, I'm not going to go there. There was that night at the Britannia.
Oh, anything to get through that night. Yeah.
Why does the thickness matter of the line from model to model?
Because you target a model, right?
Yeah.
If it's center to center, if your line is slightly thicker, it may clip another base.
If you're a gamey bastard, you can have a 5-inch widget, a 5-inch width widget that's going to spray in a straight line.
That's a line, right? Yeah. So I think that needs maybe some sort of, because people will game that, or there will be judges required to make decisions on how thick a line is.
I imagine that's the sort of thing that I imagine is going to go to the rules forum almost immediately.
Yeah.
Or at the very least to their feedback email.
Just a few comments in chat. Matt says, "Speak for yourself, Brett, with your weird little widget." Time to Clock says, "AoE question mark. What happens if you hit a huge base?"
They haven't clarified that yet, but currently, as the way I read it, is that it goes miles.
So it still bounce off the huge base.
Yeah. So base sizing is weird in this, isn't it? So the 2-inch place with infantry base sizing makes a massive difference, and the same with AoEs.
So AoEs will be bigger. The bigger with current ruling, the bigger the model, the bigger the AoE splash will be.
The bigger the base size you hit, the bigger the bounce. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just when an AoE directly hits its target, resolve the attack against the target, and then the additional models equal to the AoE value closest to the target, so it's still just the same.
Yeah.
As if you were shooting a little model.
They need to change that, don't they? If they're going to bring some huge bases in at some point, that feels a bit ridiculous.
I don't know. Just think of it thematically. If you've got this massive bazooka, right, and it hits a big target, it's going to make that blast radiate around the sides of it as well. Yeah, I think it's fine fluff-wise. It's okay.
It's fine fluff-wise, right? If I'm stood by my house and you threw a hot water balloon at the house.
Yeah.
And
it would hit you, wouldn't it?
20 foot from the house.
It was 2 inches. It's 2 inches.
No.
Yeah, but if you just stood next to a person but you're 20 foot away, you're still not going to get wet, Paul.
Yeah.
If you're 20 foot away...
No, listen, it don't make sense that don't make sense in my head.
If you're within 2 feet of the wall and we throw a water balloon at your house, you're going to get wet. If you're within 2 feet of Gav and we throw a water balloon at Gav, you're going to get wet.
All right, well, let's get into the details. All right, fine. I'll think of another example, all right? Let's say I'm stood next to a Judicator, 2 inches away. Well, how would like a bazooka shot get more powerful if it hit a Judicator and hit more people around it? It wouldn't dramatically. I don't know. Anyway,
is it to do with the gravitational pull of it? I have no idea. Probably something like that. No. So I'm just looking at spray attacks. Right.
Yeah.
So a spray attack follows all normal targeting rules. When making a spray attack, measure the full range of the spray, centering it on the target model's base. Every model whose volume this line intersects can then be hit by the attack. A model under spray template cannot be hit by the attack if the attacker's line of sight is completely blocked by terrain. Blah 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 blah. So, but it just says line, and also it does not say spray attacks cannot have their range increased.
Yeah.
Right.
So currently snipe does affect sprays.
So they could do with defining a line size.
And putting in a mitigation against sprays being sniped, I think.
Yeah. I think the other nice change about the AoEs as well, and I clearly in my mind, I can remember us starting games over, Paul, when we've played, when I've scattered an AoE.
I quit. I'd restart.
And it's drifted to the 1,
yeah.
6 inches, landed on something important, and you boost damage.
Yes, I say good game.
Fine, quit, re-rack.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I know you. I'd say, yeah, good game. You win that one, mate. Can we start again?
And then I remember watching a WTC live stream where Wrong Iron Snapjaw went up and did the submerge, and then somebody got a lucky scatter and killed. Was it Wrong Eye? Which one's the
Wrong Eye's the croc?
Killed him with a scatter on the blast. Or was a lucky scatter. So yeah, none of that anymore. But obviously, what we haven't touched on is that when you miss, the model that you missed and you targeted is automatically hit by the blast.
Oh yes. Yeah, this is why someone said in the chat you can auto kill stealth with
blast
damage.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's hit rather than directly hit.
Yes,
which is an important distinction, for things like crit effects and whatnot. But it's still a little interesting just to be able to that stealth model there is gone.
It's just dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy's saying Judy has more surface area to rebound. Andy, don't be helping these guys in the You're a Leeds fan. I meant to stick together. Sorry, Barry. Go on, mate.
No, that's right. I was just debating whether the stipulation that you could target models outside of range is still there or not.
So you can target models out of range, but if the model has to be in range in order for the AoE to be targeted on them. So if you miss, because obviously you target a model out of range, you auto miss, then the model is not then hit by a blast. It has to be within range for
it to be hit by the. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Zoran says no shield guards against blast misses.
No shield guards against that
because it's not directly hit. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's really powerful. AoEs seem really good.
I don't mind that rule though. Like the number of times you fire a 3-inch AoE at a stealth model and you just hope it scatters.
Exactly.
So 2 inches, so it still clips it.
But it's when you've got like a mammoth, it's like a 32-point model that shoots. It's trying to kill one, say one solo, and you spend that whole activation and do nothing.
Yeah.
Right, we're moving on because this is giving me fucking PTSD against that game I had against Barry. So we're moving on.
Just think, Paul, it's all gone. Mark 4, Paul. It's all gone now.
It's worse. It's way worse. Yeah.
Warjack and Warbeast customization. We've introduced Warjack and Warbeast customization to the game. This has enabled us to produce smaller number of Warjack chassis, but with head and weapon options for a broad array of tailoring specialization. So this is we give you loads of arms, clip them on, clip them off. They're giving magnets as well in the packs out there, in the blisters. So you get the magnets with them. This seems quite an interesting development. Seems to advance the game. And by advance the game means PP have done a lot of things wrong that have annoyed people in the past, but I think they've done more things right than they have wrong, and they've done a lot to kind of advance the whole wargaming scene. Like you think about War Room was so far ahead of its time in terms of a piece of tech. Like no other company had gone to the level of depth with with War Room, and this seems like a similar thing. Like GW and no one else makes it easy and encourages you to be like, do you know what? Rather than buying 6, different jacks and spending hundreds of pounds, here's one jack. We'll give you every customization, and we will facilitate the swapping of those arms. We'll encourage it. Because I mean, I've done it anyway. I've got Ravagor. You can take the arms off and sizing and stuff, but it seems a nice thing for the players. That right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I've got some of my Signar jacks are magnetized, and it's like having to work out where the magnets go, what size magnets do I need, where like are they going to be strong enough to hold the arms on? Some of mine aren't. I've got a Galleon that's got like arms that just fall off because the magnets aren't strong enough. And just to be able to out the box go put that in there, done. Is really good.
It is fantastic.
Got to respect that. And I love the idea. I love the idea. We all like writing lists. Brett, me and you did an entire show on how we use War Room and the enjoyment we get out of War Room and how much it means to us as part of the hobby. I love the idea of just thinking about all those different combinations and mixing it up. That immediately seems like a cool thing for the game. Gav, you made a point as well that that's the reason there's only a couple of chassis, because with a couple of God, I can't say the word.
Chassis.
You end up with just like so many combinations, right? It's like
you do. Yeah, 64.
Yeah.
So it's 64 different combinations for each multi-part jack kit. They have confirmed though that each, I'm gonna get this wording right, that each, not faction, army, whatever they're gonna call them, it's like effectively theme.
Army.
Okay. The old themes. So basically they're called armies now. So each army will only have 2 warjacks in it. 2 warjack chassis, sorry. That looks like at the moment currently. So the Signar have got 1 heavy, 1 light. The Orgoth have got 1 heavy, 1 light, and Kador's new ones that have come out have got 2 heavies. Yeah. Well, like a lighter heavy.
It's a big heavy and a little heavy, essentially.
Yeah. So, but each one can combine to make 64 different options, which is amazing. Like I love it. It's fantastic. It's really cool. Like I've got in my garage shelves and shelves and shelves of just different heavies. Just so that I can, when I come to play a game, I've got the full options available to play in each list. So they sat on my shelf. The majority of them never getting played, whereas I can get maybe 4 jacks for my army, and I would use those models every single time.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. It's really
it also helps them avoid the problem that they've got at the minute, where there are 15 jacks a faction.
Yeah.
And you're suddenly looking at you've got to have 15 different models even a 5 at least, or you end up with this problem that there are a million troll lights. There's 7 different troll lights.
Yeah.
And they're all distinct kits.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas now they can just go, you need this box. This box has a jack, regardless of combination.
Yeah.
And it really helps them keep the SKU bloat down.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
also,
I've not seen this on any of the social media type forums, but I know people have been raising some concern or issue about the cost of the buy-in at the moment.
Yeah.
With the initial star box at what is it, $200?
Yeah.
So £165. And saying that seems to be a little bit on the steep side. And even in our chat, Matt was saying, and then you've got to buy this extra bit and then this extra bit, and so all buy-in is costed this. But what no one's done yet is factor in then, but I only need to buy 4 heavy warjacks.
Yes.
Exactly. Whereas currently, like you were just saying, I've got 15, 16 circle war beasts. I've got my war wolves, I've got all my wolds. By the time you've bought all that, you'll have invested way, way more financially than if I just bought 4 heavy chassis that then could be made into any combination of battle group that I want.
Gav, just do the numbers again. How did you work that out?
Won't it?
How many combinations are there? How did you do the numbers on it? How did you work
64, right?
How did you get to 64?
It's 4 times 4 times 4.
Yeah, is what?
64. I mean, it could be a different number if you want it to be.
4 times 4 is...
Well, we just make the numbers up anyway, don't we? So it's fine.
Right, yeah. Okay, well, I think you did.
So 4 times 4 is 8.
Yeah.
And then 4 8.
Yeah.
4 8 is 64.
Cool. Well done.
Fine. Thanks.
Sorry, mate. Don't worry about it.
Cool. Cheers, mate. I mean, so a lot of those combinations might not be seen, but the options are all there, aren't they? So customization is something that, being a 40k player in the past, that I did miss in Warmachine, but now we've got it, and we've got it in spades as well. So it's really cool. I'm all for it. I think it's fantastic. It's really, really cool. Being able to customize your jacks, it's just brilliant. You know, the heads, just the Cortex head things alone are just brilliant. You know,
you'll actually be able to get 2 armies now in a travel case.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like, these are the things to think, like, you know, when you think about what that means, you know, I just need to be able to carry around 4 heavies and I've got everything I'm going to need.
Everything you need. Yeah, definitely. And it looks to be as well that their competitive format might be going back to 3 lists based upon what they've said about their app supporting 3 lists. So that's even more important as well. Yeah.
Maybe, Sorry, I was trolling you a bit there, Gav, with pictures of Carol Vorderman. I just want to confess.
I can point. You can put some numbers up here or something.
Matt and Andy say Matt said 4 times 4 is 8 is brilliant maths.
It's definitely 4 times 4 is 8.
4 times 4 is not 8.
16.
Right, next thing is a big change is racked spells. New MkIII Warcasters have both assigned spells and rack options. We're not talking about Scar's Rack, because last time that got us in trouble on the cast, which is why it's not going on YouTube, Andy, and Andy's in the chat. So, Andy, that is an official warning.
But also, she is a legendary, so she will not have a great rack. She will.
No, don't. You get banned. No, I'm being serious. Don't go there.
Oh.
Don't go there.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying the truth. She's not having a rack.
The spells assigned to these Warcasters can be thought of as their signature spells that no other Warcaster in their army will have access to. Rack spells are selected from options available to every Warcaster in the army, and every new army has 10 rack spell options available to it. Rack options further allow a player to tailor their Warcaster to their tactics and the force they wish to play. The spells are chosen before the start of the game, but after seeing what you are facing. This gives new casters amazing flexibility at minimising the impact of poor planning or bad matchups. We talked a lot about the rack spells in our
made a mistake in list design.
Yeah.
Don't worry, change all your spells.
Change them all. What do we think of this, and what do we think of the spells that we've seen so far, and their sort of the power?
I think the spells are really good, and they seem to be thematic for each faction. But so I just want to touch on what Brett mentioned there about fix your list with spells. I think it's quite good because you do get every now and then you get a list chicken, don't you? So you end up at list selection, you can get a list chicken, you can lose that, and you think, well, this game's bad for me now. But maybe some of those games are going to be a bit fairer now if you can adjust your spell list to match that. I don't know. Maybe that's a bonus that you're going to get. But yeah, so the spell lists are out for Orgoth, Signar, and for Kador.
Yeah.
Well, Barry, what do you think from looking through them, mate? What's your kind of take on the power of them and how relevant they're going to be in the matchup process?
I think we'll probably do what we ended up doing with objectives a lot, where you default to like a certain setup.
Yeah.
Just every time I'll take Arcane Shield and Snipe if I'm playing Signar, because those are 2 really good spells. And then like maybe you get like one niche matchup, or like, I need although Tactical Supremacy in there, that's a bit given the way the movement works, it's a bit tasty. So I think you'll end up just defaulting to like a couple of particular ones, and then if you end up with a matchup where you're like, I really need this thing, I'll take that spell instead of like one of the others. It'd be interesting to see how much it just becomes like I take A and B every time.
I guess that's my worry. That is this going to kind of simplify spell lists and create less diversity in the game? Pardon me. Is it because everyone's just kind of taking those like signature, really strong spells from the rack rather than a bit?
I think the nearest thing we've seen so far would be to compare it to Grimkin, right? And the Arcana that they used to take.
Yeah.
But there was quite quickly, wasn't there, a pattern emerged that certain Arcana were generally just more universal in their use than others. And so people would just take the same 2 Arcana 8 games out of 10. And then as Barry says, those odd games, there'd be suddenly a little switch because, this particular thing was better than their usual package. And so I could definitely see that happening. But do you not think list design will then start to reflect that. So if I know Barry's taking Arcane Shield, if every Signar army is going to have Arcane Shield, then it just means that you've got to make sure you can crack armor. So again, it also makes it easier for the opponent if you start to build an archetype.
Yeah, because you're telegraphing what you're going to have.
Yeah.
Andy says, I think every army should be led by a commander with a spell rack.
Yes, I agree.
Because the
Do you mean giving the legacy casters a spell rack?
Yeah. They're not getting them from what I read.
No.
Correct.
No, they're not now. I understand why, because they want people, the new shiny. They want us to come and play with the new toys. But it is sad to see. So I think
it's the bit. I was going to say it at the end, but I'm going to say it now because it's just annoyed me again. That's the bit. And if Brett, me and you maybe talked briefly about this off camera. That of all the rules stuff, the rules seem cool. There's some interesting stuff. I'm enjoying the discussion and us exploring it. But the kind of elephant in the room is the fact that I have hundreds of pounds worth of Legion models, which might never see the light of day. And I just ordered a bunch from the States that turned up today, like 100 quid's worth of models, which there is a chance don't have any value. Like I just got Bethane, the new Bethane. I mean, might not have a shout at being a competitive caster because it might have a stuck spell list that doesn't have the flexibility. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean to be negative, but that I do. Brett, we talked about it a bit before. It does feel like a little bit of an elephant in the room in amongst a lot of the excitement. It's a bit like, oh man.
Yeah, I think we've said, haven't we, the changes to the rule book and everything we've looked at, for example, so far, all seem really solid, well thought through. We need to see how units actually move and operate. But the AOE change, great. Facings and charges, great. So. All these things are steps in the right direction, but managing the PR exercise of your existing player base needs to be a consideration in with here's all our new stuff and our new direction, and making sure they've got something they're still engaged in playing enough that they then still buy into the new models and new armies.
Yeah.
Because, are we going to buy into the new stuff? Yeah, we probably are, aren't we?
Yeah.
But at the moment, it almost feels like my arm's being twisted a bit to buy that.
Yes. This is my biggest bugbear, is that the new things are seemingly better than the old things. And whilst I appreciate that PP are a business, they need to sell things, and this is how they sell things. It does sting a little because I've got 3 factions in it, like to full FA.
Yeah.
And that stings a little. Knowing a lot of that's going to be either unusable or essentially unusable.
There's a couple of comments in the chat that I think are interesting. Glitchy says Legacy armies will have more list building options though, and in Unlimited they have no theme restrictions. Andy says I'm not sure Legacy get more list building options as Prime armies will have 128 choices of Jack. So I think it's kind of swings and roundabouts, and it depends which of those Legacy models actually get into Prime, right? Because I don't think there's a guarantee that every single. Again, I was getting this mixed up the other week, and you guys were getting annoyed at me, but. Is every Legacy model getting a Prime rule?
No.
It's not, is it? There's just every...
They're all going to get Mark IV rules, right?
Yeah. They all get unlimited rules.
Yeah.
But there might not be Prime.
Yeah, every model will be usable.
But the Prime format, so the Prime is going to be a tournament format, basically.
Yeah.
Well, no. So Privateer Press are stepping back from competitive play. They are... washing the hands of organised play themselves. So they're going to create 2 different packs, the Prime and the Legacy, or whatever it's called. And then it's down to TOs to run those events. And so the TOs and the community will decide which events they want to run and what they want to play in.
Yeah, but Gav, that's really influenced. That I agree. That can happen. But I think players are so heavily influenced by the new thing. And like what the company's pushing, so like there's a two-way relationship there, isn't there?
Yeah, but the new thing is, so everything will be new. So when everything gets a new Mark IV rule for all of your Legacy stuff, so your entire army effectively is going to get new rules. So all of your models will change to come in line with Mark IV. So if you listen to the Primecast recently, they're basically saying that you will get new shiny. It's just your old stuff polished. So like the last dynamic update, they're effectively doing the same sort of thing again.
Yeah, but the rules in Unlimited have clearly been that. There's not. I don't think there's a balance there, is there? That was clear from the original blog. I think it was kind of like it could be.
Well, I think on Unlimited, the older factions will be stronger because they will have way more options.
There's a few. Again, there's more comments in chat that are interesting. I think where was I up to? Andy's saying the thing about legacy casters should have the spell rack. Time to clock. Did they not say on the smaller / limited factions were basically getting all their models in Prime, or did I missay this on the Primecast?
Crucial Guard, Infernal.
Oh, the smaller limited factions.
Yeah, the entire lot's coming across to Prime.
Yeah. Then Matt says, I think you will get 2 casters Prime from Legacy. Yeah, that's right.
And that's why it's about the event format, Paul. So if Barry, and the Walsall guys decide to run a Prime event, then we're going to have to take our Prime Legacy army. And that's going to have 2 casters, isn't it? And a limited selection of models, like we've seen for Crix and Menoth.
You basically
have to build our lists out of those and go to the Prime event.
Yeah.
And then the following month, they might run an unlimited event. And at that point, you can basically pick anything from the entire back catalogue of your Legion faction and build a list with it without any theme restrictions whatsoever.
But if that knowing the players that we know, and like people are gonna, if that rule set is a bit wild and a bit skewy and a bit weird and a bit unbalanced, they're gonna lean on Prime, aren't they?
Why? I don't see why it'd be unbalanced. You see, so I've seen
he literally said in the blog. He literally wrote in the blog.
Well, so
that Unlimited
the Wild West
is going to be the Wild West, and Prime is the competitive rule set.
Well, no. So Wild West for me interprets that it's basically untouched. It's uncontrolled. Is the way I read that.
Well, it's unfair. Some people have got guns,
unfair.
Other people have got bows and arrows. It's unbalanced. It's unfair. It's chaos out there.
Yeah, so I don't read that the Wild West that it's going to be completely broken and etc. Like that. I mean, the models.
Yeah, my reading of the Wild West was just literally you go into War Room and you can select any unit.
You can just go crazy. There's no limits. Yeah, there's no boundaries, is there? Wild West, like it's
but did he not literally say the other rule set is the competitive, like more balanced one?
No. It's more not more competitive. You can't say one's more competitive than the other.
One could definitely be more balanced than the other, surely.
But they're not running either of them. I think this is probably one of the reasons why they stepped back to stop them getting involved in this sort of discussion.
Barry, you're the official judge. What do you think on this? You think Unlimited and
it's
Prime?
I think from what I've gauged, that Unlimited doesn't get balance passes. Like if something should be overachieving or underachieving, and it's not going to get a balance pass. So you might end up with some outliers. And then Prime is going to have more balance passes, from what I've understood and I've read. But then you're going to end up in this situation where, like you say, I'm going to run a Prime tournament 1 month, and the next month's going to be Unlimited, and then the next month will be a Prime again, then Limited Prime, Unlimited Prime. If I do it like that, that's nice and structured, yeah. But if I'm running a Prime event week 2 of the year, and then someone up in like the Wargame store is running an Unlimited event week 3 of the year, and now suddenly we're not all singing from the same hymn sheet. Everyone's running all sorts of different things. So now do we like standardize? Everyone runs one specific type, or does everyone just run what they want? And then people are going to pick what they want to play. But then I'm concerned that what happens is when people pick what they want to go and play, we'll find one format is more popular than the other, and everyone will just jump to running that.
Yeah, the last thing we need is the community getting split across multiple. We're just building it back and getting people back again.
I think that final observation by Barry is really key. Because fundamentally, as a TO, you need to at least break even.
Yeah.
We were talking about looking at the cost of running the York Warmachine Weekender.
Yeah.
And you're looking at, as a ballpark figure, thousands of pounds to sort of get the venue and the hire and the tables and everything else. So as a consequence of that, as a TO, you need to at least break even.
Yeah.
And so gauging, am I going to get 64 players if I sell that as a Prime event, or am I going to get 64 players if I sell that as an Unlimited event? And at this moment in time, I'm not saying this won't change, but at this moment in time, you're going to have to go unlimited, aren't you? Because everyone's got those armies.
Well, but then people making good points in the chat. Matt's just said, but new models won't be unlimited, so it'll be odd to run an unlimited event as new players can't play. So you got a bunch of new people in the game.
So everything's viable in unlimited.
Yeah.
So you can play the new stuff also in unlimited as well, but they get to play with the racks, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, the rack for me is trying to make up for the lack of choice that they will have as well. But as time goes on, that balance will adjust, I think. Which is probably what the company wants, isn't it?
Yeah. It's all good points. It was a good chat, and thanks to.
And I think so. One of the other points Barry made was just about the unlimited models won't have dynamic updates or balance in events, but I would like to think we can probably be pretty confident that they should be okay.
Yeah.
Because currently, if things are just moving across, the game's the best it's been.
Yeah.
So there's no huge outliers in Mark III. There's no models outperforming, massively underperforming. So if they literally just cut and paste, and move all those rules across and all those abilities across, they should have a pretty nice, ready to go off the shelf Mark IV rule set.
Yeah. They're coming from a good point of balance, and if they just go straight across, they're going to one. Yeah.
They are definitely coming from a good place, but they have said they are adjusting it. So let's hope they adjust it with the same tone that they adjusted the last time.
Yeah.
So
I've got confidence in them. If it's the same dev team that did the last adjustments, it will come out really well.
Yeah, you've alleviated some of my fears there. I think Barry's made the best point around you don't want a fractured or the sort of TO perspective on this is interesting, isn't it? You don't want people. You want to fill events. People split.
Like logic says to me, it's going to have to be a gradual process.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be a gradual process. So all four of us here as primary factions, we're all hordes players.
Yeah.
And so none of us are getting a new release until autumn 23.
23, yeah. And that's even if your faction exists.
Yeah, and that's assuming that we play one of the two factions that they actually release for.
Well, I think those two factions are new factions. I think there's a misunderstanding with that. I think they're two new hordes factions, I think. Okay.
So rather than Storm Legion being an upgrade to Signar and the Winter Guard Command being an upgrade to Kador, it's going to be two entirely new.
Two entirely new hordes factions, I believe.
Okay.
That's my interpretation. Is that right, Barry?
I was unsure, but it sounds I think putting it together with what I've heard, that would.
Right, let's keep things moving because we had a late start. Zoran just said Faye did the October update and she's gone. That's true. But there's still the rest of them around, right? Command cards. Command cards are a new mechanic that's been added to Mark IV. As part of army creation, each player selects a hand of 5 command cards. This is similar. This is very similar to the back to the Grimkin point, isn't it?
Yeah.
The Arcana. They kind of we spoke about these last time when we did the missing files with Brett and Jamie. After seeing the command cards, what do people think in terms of the power of them and that how big a gotcha are they going to get you out of?
So people have said that they seem like Arcana to them, but to me they seem like the objectives.
Yeah, they're not Arcana level power.
No. So to me that they seem like your objectives from Steamroller.
Yeah.
They have that nice functional piece that you can just.
Yeah, because there's basically magic weapons in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's Pathfinder in there.
Yeah. Grievous wounds. So it's just those nice little abilities that let your list get out of a sticky situation.
Are they going to drop objective? Do you think the Steamroller pack will just sack off the objective thing in favour of these? Because
I thought it was quite interesting that they've got those kind of rules, and they have talked about in the past that Steamroller is going to be very different to what we're used to. So we will.
I mean, legitimately now the objective could just be something you destroy, couldn't it?
Yeah. And bear in mind, there's not going to be any units on the table turn 2, so you have to get rid of those bloody unit scoring things. You can only score with units. There's no units. Good game. Have fun.
The thing I like the most about these is that they have points cost, because it means the stronger ones that they can balance by just going, this is too strong, we'll bump it up 2 points. We'll bump it up a point, and I like that.
It's really good. But also, not every army will have an option of a 1-point unit or model as well, so you can fill your lists out a bit easier as well.
Yeah. I really like them. I think they're good.
Assassination and execution modes. Execution mode, only a Warcaster or Warlock can destroy another Warcaster or Warlock. When a Warcaster or Warlock model would be destroyed as a result of damage suffered from a source other than an attack made by an enemy Warcaster or Warlock model, instead of being destroyed, it becomes vulnerable. If it is destroyed by the damage inflicted by an attack made by an enemy Warcaster or Warlock model, instead of becoming vulnerable, it is destroyed. So it's kind of like a down state, isn't there? I'm not going to read through every single bit of the rule.
Yeah, it's like
Sorry, mate. Go on, Barry.
It's like you can only be killed by a Warcaster. It's just you're there. You can't be.
This is where Gav reveals he's been secretly playtesting and pushing the assassination angle of
Morgul 2. It's just been there the whole time.
It's basically like, I don't care what you introduce in Prime, as long as my caster can still kill their caster.
Yeah. This is
in fact, make it a game type.
Well, you can't attack your own models anymore, so that's ruined it for me. That's completely ruined it.
Oh, this is because that guy you played at last tournament rang PP after the podcast you did. Where
his mum probably rang.
Oh no! Don't. Oh, I felt so bad after that episode.
Oh,
his mum probably rang him. I mean, it seems good, doesn't it? Like, Warmachine is a brutal game. You lose your caster, it's over. It seems sensible to have like.
Even if it's just used for like, hey, you've never played before, let's play with these rules.
Yeah.
The only thing can kill your caster is my caster.
So many times that I've done demo games.
Yeah.
And you're playing it, and then you see them sort of go off, skipping merrily into the club. The first sort of game, and the caster gets killed. And then the next game is the same. So caster kill is really, really harsh for new players.
Yeah. I learned Warmachine by Rob going, I'll feat with Sorcerer 1 and kill your caster. And the next game was like, you're slightly more well hidden. I'll feat with Sorcerer 1 from over here and kill your caster. And like my first 5 games of Warmachine were just like, learn how to keep the caster safe.
Yeah.
Then learn how to Warmachine.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it's good. I really like it. Obviously, it's not compulsory, and having it as an extra option in a way to play the game is really cool. Like
people should be able to buy that as a command card to play against you. I think.
How many points do you think that'll be?
Free for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
Free for the good game experience of everyone involved.
Chrono 26 says keep up the great work, and then it was actually my mum who made the call.
Oh, brilliant.
Have you played Gav? You're the guy that Gav played in the event. Oh my God,
we talked before about how do you get new players to play older players. I mean, you could mix up the format. You could say, I'm going to play standard and you play execution or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So you could actually have an experienced player playing against a newer player, but playing the slightly different win condition.
Yeah.
That'd be quite cool.
I'd like to think we do that on a club game anyway. Apart from Rob McCormick, it seems, but any normal person would probably do that normally anyway.
Yeah. If we're running like intro games or people who've like just come back, then we're fairly like padded gloves sort of thing, like kid gloves. Like we'll be very forgiving and so it helps facilitate that, and I think some people just need the little nudge, but like don't forget to be kind.
You weren't like that for me when we played Barry the other week.
You're an experienced player, Paul. That's gloves off at that point.
New player just come back. It's James Morehouse. James Morris in the chat. Hey mate. Oh, that's nice. Thanks for joining. Good to see you in the Twitch chat. I'm glad you're about, mate. It's been many years since we saw you. Many WTCs ago. Removal of theme forces.
I feel like it's a bit cheeky putting that in there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Putting what in there?
The removal of theme forces. Like we've taken away theme forces.
Yeah, well they haven't.
but armies are a themed force.
We've renamed theme forces to something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels a little bit naughty. Models can only attack enemy models.
Boo.
But you're saying boo because it's the main way you fucking kill people.
I think it's great. It sort of tidies up so many little stupid rules that's still in the game.
I know, but sometimes you just need one of your models out of the way, don't you?
Yeah.
Just play better, apparently.
I just placement better, yeah. I'm
sure
surprised you experienced that ever, Brett.
I had to kill my own Well of Orboros the other week in a tournament game.
Is that before or after you got your free solo?
Well, obviously after.
In desperate times, it's going down. It's going to kill this
quite a few activations to get it as well, but
just play better. I think is the answer to that one.
Just play better.
Yeah.
No more of that, Brett.
I still won. So I didn't. Killing
This is
it was
interesting.
playing better.
Someone had contacted PP after your game as well. Look, Brett. This is not this not only removed what we had felt was a potentially awkward exploiting the rules. Interesting. Exploiting the rules.
I don't think it's an exploitation of the rules if you're following them.
I mean, some models are designed around it, right? Like the Animatrax.
Yeah,
use your own whippy boys. Yeah.
Yeah, so it has to be hurt, doesn't it, in order to get its rage tokens? So, yeah, things like that need it. I mean, Scorn, the Exalted theme, where you have the way that their souls work is so odd. It's at odds with the rest of the game, where you just kill your own stuff to feed your own models.
Yeah,
and they can immediately use them on that turn as well. You know, they had you'd have Immortals of Vengeance killing each other to then Zalg and then assassinate you. So stuff like that just needs to be gone, doesn't it? That just and that little change stops all that kind of shenanigans.
Let's look at some of these other ones. Integration of hordes into Warmachine. That's not really a thing. I mean, we kind of talked about that last time, didn't we?
It's really cool. That I like that.
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Well, when you've got a new player and you try to explain to them this is Warmachine, but also it's hordes as well. Like what? No, but it's the same game. It's like, well, why is it so? That's gone now. So
I found it confusing when I first started. I remember about 10, 11 years ago, Gav, you were explaining me to that. I was like, I want to play Hordes, and this is Warmachine. And you were like, right, sit down.
Yeah.
If it means I have to spend 5 minutes less working out whether a website has listed the product under Warmachine and Hordes, or Privateer Press, I'm happy.
Yeah. So I think it's a good change.
More powerful Warjacks and Warbeasts. In addition to be able to tailor your Warjacks and Warbeasts directly to your army through customization, these models have also gained the ability to attack with all their weapons, whether melee or ranged, in the same activation. Generally, all Warjacks and Warbeasts now have the dual attack advantage, which grants this capability. Clearly pushing Warjacks and Warbeasts. I think, Barry, you said earlier in the casters, across the rules, there's this emphasis back on what Warmachine was about.
Yeah.
Big robots, big beasts, smashing each other.
What I'm interested to see with that is Gargantuans and Colossals. They tend to have really powerful guns, and obviously impactful melee as well.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't know what we're going to do yet with those, but I think that'd be a really significant change.
And
you
can shoot out of combat now, right? So if a jack's tied up, it can just turn and shoot out. Well, not even turn, doesn't have a facing. Or can you only shoot into the model that you're engaged with?
I can't remember.
Barry, how do you not know this? We've got you on because you're the number one judge in the UK.
I know. I'm trying to think.
There's a weird rule with it, and then gunfighter as well and pistolier.
I think some of it's been replaced by the pistol advantage, which just allows you to shoot into combat.
Into combat.
Yeah.
Into a combat you're in.
Oh right. Okay. Barry, you have a look at that. Barry's on the case.
I think there are still ranged attack limitations.
Out of combat is gunfighter rule, Zoran says.
Right, okay. Because it used to be gunfighter in combat.
Good
but
job,
they've
chat.
changed the way that's done. Yeah.
Saved by the chat.
Good job, chat.
Good job, chat. Streamlining of stats. We've streamlined the presentation of stats in the game. They've removed strength. We talked about this last time. I think this was in the original blog.
Yeah.
Again, seems to make sense. Makes it more new player friendly. There's a lot of terminology that was kind of unnecessary.
So my concern with that was power attacks. So you got models that were good at power attacks with strengths, etc. Now gone, and they've replaced that with the gladiator rule, which is really cool. So I'm happy with that. That's fine.
Chat says pistol is the old gunfighter rule. Pistol means no -4 to hit.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they've done that. Why not? Anyway, fine.
Running standardization. Instead of running, this is fairly big. Instead of a running model advancing at double their speed in inches, a running model now advances speed +5. This change adds a hard limit to how far a model can advance while running, but also enables us to simplify the language involved in writing movement rules. No longer do we have to separate speed and movement modifiers to limit how far a model can run.
Yeah. Speed and movement definitions for newer players as well was sometimes a bit of a trip up as well. So clarifying that is really nice.
Yeah. I also think this helps a tiny bit with threat ranges and like distance covered.
Yeah.
It makes the table a little bit bigger, which is a problem we've experienced in like Quicksand was really good for it because it made the table bigger again. When everything was threatening like a long way.
Yeah.
Having things that make the table go further just helps you
absolutely.
position and not.
Yeah, and it reduces the impact of first turn.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, because going first always feels really powerful, doesn't it? So,
I wouldn't know.
yeah, just roll better, Brett.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I'd take your word for it.
So yeah, obviously everyone likes going first, even if they don't get to go first. So yeah, that reduction in the amount of board you can cover on the first turn is important. But notably, the Aridus Warbeasts in Scorn get a massive buff from this.
Yes, they do.
They do.
It's
Speed
3
6.
times faster, doesn't it?
Speed 6. Speed 3, run 6. But now they can obviously run 8. Oh,
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh, that changes everything.
The problem is AD's been reduced down to 3 inches.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're used to AD 6. So
But they're basically 1 inch further back than they would have been before.
yeah, 1 inch further back. Yeah, it's great.
Well, you win some, you lose some, Gav.
You do. That's why you need the first turn.
What are people saying in chat? There's just something going on in chat that I missed. Zoran says Doom Reavers will be tough that way. No spell, indirect targeting. No spraying tough clouds by targeting all models. And then Papa Kadan said, unfortunately, they didn't remove no knockdown tough. And then someone's saying that might be in a rules oversight. They haven't removed no knockdown.
No, knockdown tough. So tough.
So you can be you're not knocked
Yeah,
down.
so
if you fail a
they
tough
introduced into Mark III, didn't they? The rule that if you are knocked down and you
fail.
cannot pass a tough check.
check. Yeah.
But then they started to introduce a lot of no knockdown rules to models.
Yes.
I'm not particularly sure how I feel about. I've never found it a massive problem. Some of those command cards, do they not give the option for Grievous? I don't know.
I think one of them gives
Yeah,
Grievous
Yeah.
wound.
So
right?
I mean,
Okay.
they've put in options so that you can have in your
can
army
bypass it.
to mitigate that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Increase melee ranges. Increase the default melee range from 0.5 to 1. De-emphasize model placement and to account for base overhang, coupled with the removal of face in the placement of models, has never been easier.
Yeah.
Again, back to that streamlining point. I guess 0.5 was fairly awkward, wasn't it, to measure? Sometimes it was a little bit weird, a little bit fiddly.
Well, it's just one less thing to check, isn't it? You rather than there was a 0.5, there was 2 inch, 3 inch, and 4 inch melee in the game.
Yeah.
So now you've got just 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Going back to our earlier conversations about screening, it makes units more effective at screening as well.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Gives them a bigger footprint.
Yeah. That's
And
true.
better at jamming, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. So
That's
there's more implications to you somehow sneaking through a gap without forfeiting your combat action as a consequence of going through someone's melee.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. It's a fine change.
Fine.
But yeah, especially when you got some of those warcasters as well that you've got this little sword and you think, why is it not 1 inch?
It's like it's to wave it in the air.
Yeah.
Models are allowed to make ranged attacks while engaged. The rule now allows a model in melee to make a ranged attack, although with a -4 attack roll penalty unless the model is attacking with a weapon with the pistol quality. That's what we were just talking about.
Yep.
Seems cool.
It does seem cool.
More crits. This is a bit. I'm not sure. What do you guys think about the crit thing? Because it stresses
Right,
me
can
out,
I
like random effects.
Sorry, Paul. I just wanted to ask Barry a question. So
It's all right.
obviously these models now, like say Warjack's got a sword and a gun.
Yeah.
And it charges an infantry model, and it kills it with the initial melee on the charge.
Yeah.
Can it then make a gun attack, and it wouldn't be at -4 because it's no longer engaged? Does that sound right to you?
Yes. That
So-
sounds similar. I mean, we can do that now with dual attack models.
Yeah, but obviously most Warjacks now that have got a gun have the option to do
Oh,
this.
don't have. Well, you can do it with. Oh no, you can't. You can't even do it with a big lad, can you? Because Colossus don't get.
No.
Yeah.
So it just
Unless you were a Primaxium under Syntherian's feet. This is why you've got me on. Yeah, it's essentially something we could do now, or with a Troblitzer. Troblitzer can do it. They've got dual attack.
Yeah, but
So yeah, you
Yeah,
could
but
charge a guy. Bin
Barry,
him.
don't stop being a politician, Barry. In the new rules, can you do it with Warjacks?
well,
Yes.
you can do it with multiple Warjacks now. That's the thing.
Yeah, we can do it with anything with a sword and a gun.
Yeah, seems good.
Yeah, that's
It's a
it,
threat
right?
extender. Yeah.
What do you guys think of the crit the kind of more crit effects. We talked about this, Gav. Well, I can't remember who I was speaking to about. Maybe it was you, Gav, or Brett. I don't like the kind of like random effects. You know, like just the spikiness of the game makes it harder to.
So when they made the announcement and they said they were going to do, the game was going to be a bit more random. Like my alarm bells going off all over the place.
Yeah, you posted on the forum at them.
Oh
didn't you?
mate, I was so worried. So if this is what it is, I'm all for it. It's fine.
You're fine with that.
Yeah, this is great. This randomness is absolutely fine.
Like the lesser evil, isn't it, Gav?
It is, yeah.
Like, it could have been so much worse, so we'll just take this.
Rolling 2 dice to see how far I charge. That's not. I'm not doing that. So.
It's yeah. I'm not a fan of more crits because crits are difficult to control.
Yeah.
And you can't account for them either as the attacker or the defender. You can't account for them. So it's I varied and rousing play experience. Varied, I will agree with. Rousing, I need to see.
I think a lot of the crits have though are so uninspiring as well. You know, the Angelius crit fire, great.
Yeah.
You know, compared to some of the crits that are available elsewhere, you know, crit freeze on a Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Crit shred on a Degrader or whichever one it is.
Yeah, they've got some guns with crit brutal now. There's crit knockdowns. There's the same sort of crit effects.
Yeah.
They just like seem to earn a lot more weapons.
I'm not a massive fan of it because it messes up your like damage calculations of whether placement's sensible or stupid. Like all it takes is like a couple of crits and your model just gets absolutely rinsed when normally it'd tank it. So I'm a bit But then if they've I don't know, if they're generally like increasing survivability of Warjacks, Warbeasts, maybe it mitigates it a little bit. But I haven't seen anything that suggests that there's a huge shift in that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the game now, aren't they? Like, you know, you've got lots of stuff that's got some, you know, crit effects, but
It's one of those things that it does increase the chance of tilting a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking of you, Andy.
I had that recent game where I played Dan Jones with his little harpies and their crit knockdown on their cannon.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd got a Wartwolf in rubble at defense 16, and on 2 separate turns, he crit his boosted roll to hit. So he rolled 12, which was bad enough, but then part of that was a crit as well. So then I was knocked down in the rubble.
Brett, are you bitter about that, Brett? I'm just wondering.
No, I'm just using that as an example of it probably increases the chance of a tilt type effect, doesn't it, in terms of your game experience?
Yeah.
It's one of those things you'll always remember the bad ones, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when someone just kills your heavy war beast with a 1 focus crit shred because it's a crit. So yeah.
Speaking of rules that have changed that can cause that kind of effect, I don't suppose you noticed the change to Razorwind on the Khador spell list, did you?
I didn't.
Go on, Gav. What did you notice?
So when it damages a Warjack or Warbeast, it fills in the last column or branch damaged. So that's also a little cheeky rule.
Yeah, that's a bit cheeky.
Oh, I've always found that a bit odd. So against Warbeast, that's really horrible. So if it hits you really hard and just touches one little spiral, that's pretty.
Against Gargantuans, it's worse.
Yeah,
much worse.
I'm sure they would do that.
It does work like that.
Right, let's go through these
tier
last
5.
few.
I mean, 15 tier 5.
Yeah, pretty much. So Razorwind got better. Yeah.
There's a few terrain ones: rough terrain, -2 flat movement, and return of elevation. I didn't see any particularly strong reactions to these. Like flat -2 movement penalty for rough terrain definitely simplifies. Definitely simplifies moving models around.
Such a good. So the whole TO thing again. Yeah. Amazing. Barry probably agrees, I imagine.
Yeah. Barry, how much movement do I lose? Moving through this?
God.
Like 2
I swear to God, people make it up. They just go 2, 4, 6, 5, 7. You're like, well, you've out the end of that.
The thing is, everyone's using these widgets, right? That are fixed inches. So people aren't using tape measures. So you're like, get a tape measure. So I've got to try and squeeze this tape measure onto the table to, calculate 1.76 of an inch, and then work out how much.
Well, we've seen your maths earlier, Gav. You've got
again. Carol.
Gav's moving miles on the table.
64 inches. I'm there. Yeah.
Carol's back.
Hills coming back is a non-event, really.
It looks. It might look.
I'm really disappointed with this.
Why?
Well, no. So I think elevation should be back, and I think you should get +2 defense. But the rules, the volume, the LOS blocking, where they've simplified everything else, they've just made this unbelievably complicated. It was complicated when it existed back in Mark II. And so considering everything else around it has simplified, they've reintroduced one of the most complex rules from Mark II into Mark IV.
Yeah, agreed.
I have a solution.
Remove them.
No. If you're on a hill, you get arcing fire. Done.
Well, no, that's
we used to do that.
No, well, it wasn't quite.
No.
Was it?
But arcing fire is a rule that currently exists, and it's relatively straightforward to understand and administer, isn't it?
I thought you had a solution to the volume rule, Brett.
I mean, pointless.
No.
The solution to the volume rule is to stop using the volume rules like we did for most of Mark III.
Definitely. So there's nothing. So hills come back. They give you elevation, so you get +2 defense if you're completely on a hill against magic and arcane attacks, right? And range attacks.
We like that bit.
Yeah. That's great. So they don't need to do the arcing fire thing. Whatever. I don't think that's necessary.
Well, that's just because otherwise they've done the whole what base size are you? What base size are they? What base size is intervening? Is it within an inch?
Exactly.
Do
so
some trigonometry.
And that's the complicated thing, isn't it?
The whole volume thing needs changing. Like it's that needs adjusting.
Yeah.
Not anything else. So that's my major feedback for the entire of the beta is they need to do something about volume, because trying to get a new player to explain that to a new player, and you've got all these tables and diagrams, and that is not speeding the game up at all.
I have never used the how tall is my model at all. I genuinely can't think of any instance where someone has said, "Oh, can I see over this?" and then said, "But what about the volume rules?" No one's ever done that.
Yeah,
because you just agree when you come to the table, right?
Yeah.
There's a building in the middle of the table.
Blocks line of sight.
Can you hide warjacks and warbeasts behind it? Yes. Can you hide a gargantuan behind it? No. Okay, good. Let's go.
Yeah. I think. Go ahead.
No, go on, Barry. Go on.
Up there. I think if they switch to a system like other systems use like just the size system where something is small, medium, large, or size 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just had like twos can see the number above can see over any numbers below it.
Yes.
Simple.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
No, me neither.
Because I know I'm gonna have to deal with it. That's why.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you to work out how you do the elevation maths from a hill, but we haven't got enough time. So
you roll
it off the hill.
You just roll it off. That's actually the rules now. So you roll a dice. If you can't agree,
you just
the
do what,
highest
sorry?
player wins. Yeah.
I beg your pardon. You just roll it off.
It's in the rules. So it's in the rules now. It's in the beta. If you can't agree on the rules, you basically roll a dice, and the highest player gets to choose.
Joker.
Nope.
And then in amongst that, I'll just raise this, and then we'll move on. They've also reintroduced falling.
Oh,
have they? Oh, no, but
Jesus. That's fine. That's actually fine. You just don't have to play with it. That's fine. So I'm being buzzed by a fly. Leave me alone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You just don't play with it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. But it's great for people that want to play with, dynamic
flavor and narrative stuff.
Yeah.
I remember playing a game with falling where I charged my Angelius into a castled wall. It was that had got models on the top of it. I didn't make any attacks. I just got into combat and then repulsed.
Repulsion.
Oh my god!
I just killed literally everything.
That's thematic. That's beautiful. In that kind of game, though.
That is horrendous.
Not what my opponent thought.
Is that when Nathan was doing that dynamics?
It was against Conrad that I did that.
Right, okay. That's.
He quit the hobby shortly afterwards. I think that was probably the breaking point.
But that's cinematic. That's beautiful. Like that.
Well, that's not how he saw it.
No, it's up the big dragon. It's flapping its wings and it's like knocking them all off. It's brilliant. That's great.
Yeah. How many damage do they take? Well, it's a power for this because you've fallen from this high. You're a large base, so you multiply it by this. So it's just...
Jesus. Do it on their clock. All the best, clonk.
And you're all knocked down and you can't shake it. Yeah.
Let's go through these last two because you made me do this so late. Barry, you were so aggressive about the start time.
I'm terribly sorry.
But Barry's such a difficult person to pin down. Really sort of strict.
I'm a busy guy.
don't know how you dare show your face on here.
His agent was absolutely disgusting. Just the way the agent spoke to Gav.
Yeah, that's
No, I'm going to joke about it. We appreciate you loads. Simplified power attacks. What do you reckon to this?
Yeah, like it.
Like
Yeah.
you were saying before, Brett, that like the power attacks were a bit. Just no one really knew how to do them anymore.
I
People
think
keep forgetting.
genuinely, it's the only time I get the rulebook out at the moment.
Well,
Yep.
on that, listen to Bramcast, the new war room. I don't know if you noticed, they've put all the power attacks onto icons. So you'll be able to see which warjack can do which power attack. So what you'll do is you'll click on the icon, and it will tell you exactly how the rule works as well. So no, like
That's
leafing through the rule book, trying to work it out between you whereabouts it is and which page.
Okay.
So it will go straight to it from the app, which I think is fantastic as well. So that's really cool.
Good job. Yeah, that is good.
I can only imagine that it must take up 3/4 of Barry's judge calls.
Yeah, I was going to say, you must be happy with this, Barry.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. How does it, like, literally people will go, I'm going to throw this model. Let's pause the clock. Let's call a judge. And then they don't even get into resolving.
It's just like a lazy thing. Let's not look. Let's not look. Barry looks bored. Barry.
Yeah.
Judge.
Just simplifying all the power attacks. Just nice. It's just really nice from a TOA perspective where you're just like, cool, you can work out most of this yourselves now. I can go back to
paint my models.
Yeah.
Gavin, instead of
Again,
doing
I think
podcasts,
critically they've kept it in the game, which was the big thing.
What's that? Sorry, Paul.
I was just going to give you some shit, but Brett.
You
Brett
go for it, mate.
No. Brett put us back on track. It's better use of everyone's time. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
I was going to start trolling you. We're all happy with that. It's a non-controversial, sensible thing that was needed, a bit like the templates. Simplification of model rules, just generally, we've taken steps to reduce the sheer bulk of rules on each model in the game. The goal has been applied case by case with care taken to maintain each model unit's role and unique capabilities, while also trimming some fat and reducing the cognitive load required to play with and against certain models. The capabilities and points cost of every model/unit in the game are being carefully weighted and rebalanced to ensure they're placed within each army. What do we is a big point. What do we think to this from the rules that we've seen so far on the cards? Has that been the case? Have you noticed a simplification of the rules?
I don't know if it's more tidying up of the rules, but the rules themselves don't seem to have reduced. I know, the cavalry have lost the lance rule, haven't they?
Yeah,
so that's a positive change.
Have mount attacks gone? I think mount attacks have gone.
Mount attacks have gone, yeah. But cavalry have gained the unstoppable rule.
Yeah.
So that makes them have a unique role.
Yeah, I didn't see loads. I looked at all the Crix models, the Men-Off models and stuff. I didn't see like a general simplification of what the units did. Like the errants still have loads of rules. There's tons of stuff to digest there.
Yeah, but so I think they've changed some of the names of some stuff. Maybe. Yeah. So I don't know if that's what's going to come. The drag is now changed to
skewer.
Skewer. That's it. Yeah. Thank you. But so maybe that's going to be a universal rule rather than having lots of different versions of it.
Yeah. I see.
So maybe that's the sort of thing they're talking about. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe because there are loads of different types of drags out there.
Yeah.
Or there were.
I mean, to be honest, so they have clarified it. So like, if you can't resolve it, so this is in the rule book here. I found it. So during a game, if you try to resolve any issues quickly in the interest of keeping the game flowing, there'll be plenty of time after the game to determine the best answer, which you can then incorporate into future games. If all players cannot agree on a solution, briefly discuss the matter and check the rulebook for an answer, but do not spend too much time doing so that you can slow the game down. In striving to resolve an issue, common sense and the precedents set by the related rules should be your guide. If you cannot resolve the dispute quickly, roll for a resolution. Each player rolls a d6, and the person with the highest result decides the outcome. Re-roll any ties.
I thought you were trolling. Are you
I'm
showing
not
it
trolling
in
you,
the
mate.
Games Workshop?
That's in there.
They're stolen that from GW.
What is that?
Yeah.
That's
On a
like
4 up it's in.
Yeah. So that's on page 4 in the beta. So I mean, don't try that on at an event.
Just call Barry.
Barry.
No, I'm doing that. I'm doing
Call
that every
Barry,
time.
and then if you disagree with him, insist on a roll off.
Yeah, you roll off with the judge. Judge roll off. Here we go.
Time. I can say, listen, this
he gets +6 though.
This rule feels a bit complicated. Should we just roll a dice? Should we do a dice roll?
Yeah. So I understand where they're coming from. They're trying to keep the game flowing for people.
Yeah, don't get bogged down. I've done that before on a club night. Stood there by the table scrolling through the forums for 5 minutes, going, I know it's in here somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, Andy's just given a good example of the simplification. Tartarus lost veteran leader Bane standard grants the unit +1 to hit. Maybe it's that sort of thing.
Maybe.
Just simplifies it down a bit.
Mm.
That's the full breakdown of all the rules in the blog that I did the other day. Just general like reflections before we finish things, as like an overall impression after a week, a bit less than a week of looking at the rules. What do you all reckon?
Really like
speaking.
it. Want to see the infantry in action, see how that works. But everything else, pretty much, I really like, and I'm really looking forward to it. The only thing that they've missed off in that, which I was surprised, is that they've changed to running. You can cast a spell now and run, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
It's a really
you cast
cool
a spell
change.
first, then run, obviously, because you
Yeah. But yeah,
Cool.
really like it.
You're
I'm
happy?
excited for Mark 4.
Brett, what do you think, mate? What's your kind of concluding?
Yeah, rulebook seems solid. I think it's, on a very personal level now, you're just waiting to see some of your factions' models spoiled, aren't you? To see.
Yeah, it's what we talked about earlier, isn't it?
But yeah, the Mark IV rulebook, a little bit of tidying, perhaps in and around elevation, would be appreciated. Other than that, it seems pretty solid. Like reasonable changes, continuing that nice upward trend from like Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3 in terms of where the rules are going and the playability of the game. Like I said, rulebook seems solid.
Barry, closing thoughts, mate?
Yeah, rules-wise, I bounced back and forth so much on this in the last week, but I think I'm at a point now where I'm like, I think the rules look good, and I'm gonna I'll give it a whirl, see how I like it. If it plays out in a way that I like, then yeah, they seem really good. I like a lot of the changes they've made, just simplifying things. It just makes it easier as a judge as well. It's just easier when you come to the table and you're like, these are simple now.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, I'm pretty happy with all the rules changes, I think.
Just want to see that unit thing in practice. I'd love to someone to do a YouTube video, a battle report of just how that unit movement works and the ramifications. I think definitely put a lot of people at ease, and also like just take a pinch with salt the people that are like played a game last night, and then there's just this like what on the Facebook page is absolute chaos, isn't it?
Yeah,
out there at the moment. It's not the chillest place to try and digest what's going on. Cool. Thanks, Barry. Cheers for taking the time out, mate. We know you're busy.
No, I'm sorry for keeping you all up so late.
We're all good. We really appreciate you taking the time out to chat. Your experience was really valuable. Cheers to everybody that joined us in the chat. Loads of comments and a good chunk of people that jumped on right from the beginning. So really appreciate that as well. Cheers, Brett and Gav, as always, for all your chat. And please like, subscribe, all that jazz, and support the podcast when you see us online. Take it easy. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, bye.